All right. So we missed the intros, but we'll get the rest of the talk. Also, just a quick thing for the Women's Wellness Exchange. For those of you that are members or think about being members, you can certainly post, you can have your own profile and you can post your upcoming events and things that you are looking to do. It's a great, as you probably all know, it's probably where you all heard of this event tonight. It's a great place to hear about what's going on and to so we can connect and share and bask in each other's fabulousness. So definitely encourage you to maybe check out the calendar in the next couple of weeks or so, and or post to that same calendar as well. So I think we can get started into our discussion tonight.
I think so. I think I'll lead us off. A big part of what we're going to move through tonight is fear-based. Learning the different ideas of how fear shows up in our business and in our life, and really, maybe some shifts and some ideas and sharing some experiences that will help each other lead from a different platform and kind of recognize fear head on and find a place where it kind of fits. Everything fits. It's just a matter of organizing it where it goes. So the first thing that we are going to roll out for discussion is, how does fear appear in your life or your business, and how does it impact us? And so I'll probably start, we'll share some examples and some life experiences. So I'll start with you, Sheila, if you want to open up your mic and share a little bit about how fear resides with you.
Yeah, wow, it does. It does in a lot of different ways, right? And I feel like I'm learning more about it every day. Just had a training last night with some wonderful ladies, and we talked a lot about this, so it's perfect timing. First, I think there's been so long in my life and in my professional life as well as my personal life, where I didn't realize that I was experiencing fear. And certainly in the professional world, in my, as I dove into my private practice and in my administrator roles and in corporations and in my own coaching business, it just took a while for me to pinpoint what was going on inside of me with what it was really about. And I've done some intense reflection over the last few years around like what that fear really feels like inside for me, and also how it plays out. And for me, it's just like I just know it's nervousness. I know it sits in my stomach. It feels like anxiety, but it really tends to come up inside of me. And if I can really start identifying it and recognizing it, then that can help me to reframe it so that and live in it, jump in it, but also move forward in it so it doesn't hold me back. It's played out for me through maybe holding myself back with a possible networking event or reaching out to a client or having that really difficult conversation with whether it's a professional one or a personal one. So that fear, even though I have felt it over the years, oftentimes kept me hostage in a way. And it wasn't until I did this deep work where I was able to recognize it, notice it comes up, not judge it, but work it through so I could step into it and then, work on making that difference and not letting it hold me back. I don't even know if I answered the question, but that's what was coming up for me.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
That is really, you're so much so it shows up as a feeling in your body.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, Deborah, I'll move to you. Share with us a little bit how that fear also shows up for you and resides, and how you move through it.
Sure. I think, well, not that I think, I know I've certainly been also similar to Sheila. It's been a long time of self-reflection and I'm a psychologist, so I've certainly I've had therapy, I've had coaching, been a deep process. I think for me, I know I'm working with this basic tenet that's deep down inside that says I'm not good enough. So there's a lot of stuff that's coming up around that, how that shows up. One thing I notice is I can get overwhelmed. Oh, we have somebody joining us. I can get overwhelmed with things. And sometimes the way I deal with it is almost like making more overwhelm. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're not sure what to do, take another class, read another book, take another class. And then before I know it, I've got this giant pile of books and I've got all these classes to take. And I just sort of put myself in some of it's really, really helpful, obviously, but sometimes when it gets too much, I realize you didn't think you had enough. You didn't think you had enough what was already there with experience and prior learning. You had to go get more. And I have to watch that tendency. And similar to what Sheila was sharing too, is sometimes like not good enough is, the same thing of putting yourself out there, oh, I'm not good at selling, those things that you say to yourself, I'm not good at this. Somebody else is better at this than I am. So maybe I'll just be quiet. I won't say anything. And I think this is also getting older. It's that wisdom of not giving an F sometimes, of getting older and just saying, you know what, I'm just gonna say what I'm gonna say. Because so often when somebody else does something like that, I feel grateful in a group or, maybe listening to a podcast or anything like that. I'm so glad that sometimes somebody has kind of broken through a barrier and said something very, very authentic and different, or just a wondering, just maybe a question. So I always take that as an example. I kind of let that come in and work with it that way. But I do find that one of the things that is helpful is to really get in touch with what it is. Like, what is that actual fear? If I'm starting to tell myself stories about it, if those stories have blame, whether it's blaming myself, blaming somebody else, then I know it's just, I'm not getting to the bottom of it. If I can ask myself, all right, what are you really afraid of? What are you afraid is going to happen here? What's the worst thing that can happen here? I start to have those kinds of dialogues, and literally sometimes out loud in the car. Sometimes I love it. Like with COVID, there wasn't a lot of driving around. And now there's a little bit more driving around, and I have those questions. I call it sorting myself. So sometimes I have these conversations like, so how do you feel about this stuff? And I literally am talking to myself about it to get to the bottom place with it and figure it out. Because I realize that fear is there so often, and it just shows up in cloaks and things that you would never think are it showing up. There's times where it's very clear what it is. And there's times where you really want to come from a response rather than a reaction. So it's so important to sometimes it's just taking a breath, having that conversation with yourself, and a few other things, which we'll get into as the night goes on, to share with you. But that's definitely where I tend to go. And Mary, how about you?
Oh yeah, thanks, Deborah. Thanks so much for sharing. I recognize both plays. I work really from an intentional place, and I haven't always been that way, but I have done a lot of reframing and redefining words because, as Sheila was saying, for me it shows up as a vibration in my body, especially if the fear is like anxiety or just even this, like I can feel the shaking in the body. And what I do intentionally is really, it's about being present. So I have almost reframed everything as there's no right or wrong. There simply is the experience, and I can't make a bad decision. So that has helped me tremendously coaching my clients and coaching myself. A big one for me is when fear shows up. It's a lack of confidence or deservability or illusion. Those stories that replay in your head of not only my experience, and most oftentimes not, but just an experience that somebody else has had that seemed to be a failure. Um, it shows up confidence or enlightenment. I get a lot of downloads and a lot of channeled information, and I see it. I get it all my content out, and I get it all written, and then I'm struggling to hit submit. I know that I'm authentic, but it shows up a lot in that. I think judgment too plays a big role, especially with women, extending that fear-based energy, because first of all, most of us, especially entrepreneurs and leaders, we're stepping out on this brand new female platform, which is a big step for the feminine, right? And then all of a sudden we feel like we're inundated with competition. which again, I've reframed to collaboration. Really, this is a collaboration. There's no competition in it. But I do a lot of that, and I get really present. If I can't hit submit, as Deborah was saying, I get really present, and I'm thinking, okay, what doesn't feel aligned here? What's stopping me from from posting this or pressing this button or saying this? There are two things that I do. I either walk away and I just go take a walk and I don't think about anything. I just let it move through my body because, as some of the therapists know, and as some of these spiritual practitioners already recognize, that emotions are just energy. So I just take a walk. I just separate myself from whatever is creating an illusion or a lack of confidence. The other thing is I just work powerfully with intention. And I will always come to that intention that nothing I'm doing here is right or wrong. It will simply be an experience. And with my publishing company, one of my biggest mantras or missions there is that every experience is a gift to inspire someone else. So I can't do anything wrong. I can't say anything wrong. There's nothing really to fear. Of course, we've heard it, but fear itself. But it shows up a lot for me when I'm getting my content together, just because of that feminine deservability or that illusion that I don't have this certificate or I didn't go through this thorough program, or the I don't haves that get in the way of who we came here to be. We don't. If we were supposed to have all that, there we would have it. We came here to be something and share something. But powerfully for me, most powerfully is intention, mantra, magic. So
Nice.
that's for me. Would anybody else like to, since we have such a nice small group, would anybody else like to share either how fear shows up, or want any advice, or anything? The mic is really open for you to share and explore anything that might be coming through for you.
Yes.
I totally do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I would love like some input on how to cope with this, which we can do now, or maybe you're going to get to it later. But I know that for me, I'm a pretty confident person, and I'm not afraid of a lot of external things. So my fear for me comes up as a part of me being afraid of another part of me. So being able to navigate through that, do you know what I mean? So if anybody has a similar, the way that it shows up, and wants to talk about that.
I see that a lot with storytelling, with people writing, and Deborah probably has some on that too as a writer. It's almost as if I show this side of me, now I have to take responsibility.
Absolutely. That's 100% it.
It really is just it. That's just it. And can you just say that? Well, it's me. And so I'm willing to take responsibility for me. I know it
Yeah.
seems simple, but it really is that it's just a block, and now it's showing up, and I'm completely capable, because if I thought it, I'm capable of it. But maybe not look at it as responsibility, but oh, I get to accept another piece of me, or a higher vibration of me is ready to show up. What about you, Deborah? Do you have any, or she?
Yeah, I do. So Lauren, I love that you said a piece of me, part of me. I think as psychology, and Sheila, you could probably back me up on this, as psychology evolves, I think we've always recognized there's different parts of us, but I think we've gotten even better with that. And oftentimes what happens is these different parts exist, and sometimes they butt heads a little bit. There's one part shutting that other part down, that other part wants to express, and then another part comes in and talks them out of it. I think what's helpful is to realize that we do have these different parts, and that they have jobs. And it's sometimes interesting to just listen. If nothing else, you just listen to that part of you that is asking to emerge, or wants to do something that maybe the other parts are getting nervous about. And to have the conversation, whether you're journaling it, you're writing it out, you're talking it out with somebody else, that can be really helpful. I think if we can befriend all those parts, one exercise I think is super helpful is to take the part of you that maybe you're most afraid of, or you've attributed negative qualities to, and see if you can turn it around and see what's good about that quality. So maybe it's something like, wow, I can get really loud and talk over everybody when I have an important point. And you might put that in the, oh, that's a negative thing, or I'm afraid of that part of me. That part of me comes out when I'm like, I've had too much coffee or too much beer, depending on the situation. And to say, well, what's good about that part? And that's a really nice way of befriending and getting to know that part in a way that releases judgment, allows it to be, because it's not going away. It's a part, like to Mary's point, it's a part of you. It is you. It is you. So it is us. So it's good to know. Let's really get to know that part. Because if we disconnect from it, we don't get to know it as much, and it can show up when we don't want it to. Knock us off kilter. And at least this part, it's like, well, at least I know what you're up to. And I see where you could be positive here. And that can be, that makes it more conscious and more aligned too. Sheila, how about you?
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of what you just said, but you did it much better than I would have, I'm sure. But I was thinking about this, like having the conversation with yourself, you know, and a lot of times what I'll do is ask people to look at, who is the person that's holding you back? What age is the person, like who are you at what age that said to you, or what messages were given to you that you weren't going to be able to succeed, or that you weren't able to do this, right? So kind of go back to that time and have a vision of who you were at whatever age that was, and have a conversation with yourself and say, you will succeed. You can do this, right? And then to bring it forward. And then the other thought is, and it could be a separate issue from what I just said, is that, you know, the self-saboteur thoughts don't need to be who we are in our future thoughts, right? And we're the ones who are in control of redefining that character.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Anyone
Lauren,
else?
was that helpful? Or do you have like a deeper question that's come up, or?
No, that was helpful. I know that one of the things that so I may overthink things occasionally. And so in examining like what, you know, what fear is doing, a lot of the times, one, like when Sheila was saying that it took a while to know what feelings are coming up. Is this fear? What is this? Is this stress or whatever? So sometimes that happens. And sometimes when it is a fear, that part of me being afraid of a part of me, sometimes it's telling me something that I should be paying attention to. Like, oh, you actually you're not doing something over here because that's not a fun thing for you to do. And maybe you should be a little worried that you're not prepared for that sort of thing. So I think thinking about having those conversations as a non-judgmental kind of conversation, not even, oh, this part is bad, but what value does this part have to say to this part is, yeah. So I'm gonna think a little bit more about that, but that was all really helpful. Thank you.
That's a great point.
And also thanks for being vulnerable and sharing. Anybody else want to share what fears come up for them? Delia.
Sure. I just wanted to say, like everything everyone has said has really resonated with me. But in the very beginning, recently I'm a yoga teacher, and I've been teaching for like 15 years, and we just started doing in-person teaching recently again. And I'm still doing 3 classes online, but 1 class is in person, and it's also live stream, which is a little bit of a challenge. Because during, COVID and being virtual, like we have this community that we've created, and we, I let them chat beforehand and afterwards, and so on and so forth. And now virtually and in person is like you have these 2 different communities, and I find it a little stressful, and sometimes they can't hear me. And anyways, but so I've been finding myself getting so nervous before I teach this class. I've been teaching for 8 years, and and then I don't know, feeling like I have to mix it up, or now we can't use props, and so it's just been a little bit more of a challenge. But finally, like this past week, or yesterday, I guess I was like, you know what, just you've been teaching for 15 years. You have all the information in you. Like, trust yourself. You could even show up and not have any plan, and it's all going to be fine. And that's even better than, trying to plan something. And I always do try to practice a little beforehand and meditate and kind of have my energy, not all over the place, but anyway, so just trusting, like saying that, like trust yourself, even saying it out loud is really helpful. I found that really helpful. And then also, I think Deborah was saying, the learning, I'm realizing that the fear of going ahead and planning, this retreat or this, throwing out an offering that for a workshop or something, is that I just start like, well, let me go on and research, osteoporosis a little bit more than I've already done or something like that. So it's almost like a distraction, a procrastination, and just a fear of actually getting it on paper and getting it out, putting myself out there. And lately also fear has been, and I just actually got off a call with like a discovery call with a life coach, and talked a little bit about how I feel like there's something more, like it would be okay to let go of the yoga, and that there's something more that I can, because she said, you keep talking about helping and healing. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm feeling like there's some other way I could be doing that. So and it's not necessarily like a frustration. It's like a fear of like, hey, I'm 57. Like I don't have forever. Like if there's more gifts to share, I need to get on that. So, and then lastly, there was something else I was going to say about the, anyway, if it comes to me, I'll pop back in, but thank you for letting me share and for sharing your experiences. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Delia. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's that shift, that change in life, and that's huge. That's huge, especially when it first starts to knock on your door and you're not sure what it is yet. That definitely can bring up fear and fear of the unknown.
What I love about what you said was, and I think I know I've been there before, and I would imagine so many of us have been, is the fear of, if I close a door, what will it be? Where will I be, and where will I make a difference? And going by that blind faith. That's hard to step into, but could be a great gift.
Right. Well, that also reminds me, the last thing was, I have to say that when I first joined the Women's Wellness Exchange, I kept calling it the Collaborative, and then it's the wrong name, was that idea of what I noticed in some of, I just noticed that people have multiple, like, I'm like, okay, I'm a yoga teacher. And then I'm like, well, people are 5 different things: a therapist, a psychologist, a Reiki teacher. I'm like, I had that like, geez, that's a lot. Like, I think it's great, but it kind of was intimidating. I was like, well, maybe I'm not in the right group because I don't have all of these extra things, even though I don't at my age, and at one time, like as a teacher, someone was saying, having your yoga certification does not mean you're going to be a great teacher. You have to teach from your heart. You have to, be you. And so that was a bit. So anyway, I just have to say that was something I thought it was quite impressive that women, and it's such a great thing, because we're giving out so much more into the world. So that's.
And Sheila, I'm sorry, Delia, I just want to give you just a different perspective on what you said. There's sometimes people that have multiple things that will look at somebody who's been doing this one thing for so long and realize, wow, they probably went really deep and far with it. Gee, maybe I should really be focused on one thing. I just want to give you that, because I know those conversations happen too. Absolutely. And Carla, it looked like you wanted to say something.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you so much. This conversation, I'm just like wrapped in it, because I'm like, oh, I resonate so much with that. And that's exactly where I am. And Delia, when you said, I'm this age and what is that going to look like? And Sheila about stepping out. So I literally am leaving my full-time job to start a practice. And I've done a lot of scary things. This is by far, I'm gripped in fear a lot. It's palpable at times. And I've pushed myself because when I hit my 59th birthday, I'm like, what am I waiting for to do these things? So I started a podcast, I finished my book, and then there's this confidence thing that I don't want to show anybody. I don't tell anybody about the podcast. And I know a couple of people have mentioned like it's not good enough, or I didn't do enough research, or maybe it's not resonating really well. And so I don't want to say I'm stuck. I'm moving through, I'll say. I'm transitioning through how to move from the confidence, because to Delia, to your point, I do really resonate with people that have done something for so long that it comes to them second nature. And I feel like I'm always learning something new and pushing myself, that I never get that comfort of, oh, I know how to do this, because I'm always learning something new. And so any help or guidance would be really appreciated.
I just keep hearing this. and maybe sometimes writing it down or just saying it out loud when you feel that transition. What if it could just be easy? What if it all could just be easy? And it all just comes in the time that it's supposed to come. And that we don't have to do anything but just receive our gifts at the time that we're ready. And I know the rumbles of transition in that. So I know that, but what if I feel the rumbles and I say, well, this is just going to be easy? Because our words, our thoughts are our actions. Always. Our thoughts become our actions. I commend you for opening a practice right now. I think it's an admirable and wonderful accomplishment. And what I could feel for you is that it goes really far if you let go of the grip and just let it be easy. We all came here to align with others. We all came here to collaborate. And I think the easier that we allow ourselves to open and expand at whatever age that we are and whatever time frame that it is, the people that are ready to see us will step towards us. Now, that is the kind of intentional business solutions that I have, but I have tested them, tried them, and watched some of the most powerful expansion happen from the intention of allowing me to receive my gifts for you, Dahlia. I know that I'm ready to transition, so I'm just going to receive the gifts that want to come in next and just let them come in easily. I know that might be a little far off, but that has been a big part of my becoming in the last 12 years. Is allowing whatever wants to come through me to be served through me, and not putting my grippy little hands on it, and trying to move it in a certain direction. That's my take on it. Let things be easy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Let things flow. And thank you, Jamie and Autumn, for your comments, because those really support well what we're talking about. Too. I just want to draw people's attention to check those out. But Carla, first of all, you've just given us all courage to do a change later on, which is fantastic. And the other thing about getting back to letting it flow, I mean, whatever's knocked on your door that's helped you come into this opening of practice is the same alignment, the same energy that is going to Mary's point. The people that are ready to be with you are going to find you and going to see you. And it really is about trusting but also feeling that there's an alignment there. And, the fear just kind of comes in and kind of pushes us out of alignment. But if you can come back and go, wait a second, let me feel, let me sense back into this. Let me get back into my truth. My vertical truth, meaning that my connection to whatever is in the spiritual realm is brought me this. And for me, the spiritual realm and the psychological realm are so intertwined that I don't even think you can separate them out. So, what you think is what you become. And the Buddha said it. In fact, I have it right in front of me. We are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think. When the mind is pure, joy follows. So there's a reason why those words from thousands of years ago still resonate. I think it's one of the most truest things about human nature that exists. It's just a matter of remembering that on a regular basis.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that, Deb. And I think about fear. Fear is uh, oftentimes in the future. And because I remember going when I went from working in programs to opening up my own counseling private practice, feeling like, holy moly, who's going to ever come to me when all these people have been working for so long, right, in the field. And I had a colleague say this to me, especially around my rates. Way back in the day, it was, if you're living in the fear and that uncertainty, but living in it, you're not in today, right? It's that simple philosophy of you're not in today. And if I'm not showing up as my best self right now, people won't come to me. So keep doing what you're doing with that courage, and step in it in the moment. Because once you're present and you're just looking at what you need in front of you, that's where the doors start opening and the clients start coming.
So, so I think I'm going to move into maybe a little bit more of a deepening of the question. I know we've been talking to some degree of how we do deal with fear, but I want to ask, Sheila, I'll ask you first. I know we've already touched upon how you overcome fear, but is there anything else you want to say about maybe using fear as a positive force? Have you been able to harness it, or go a little bit deeper on how you've worked with fear?
Yeah, I have. I believe in that, the positive psychology of looking at how something I'm experiencing that might not feel very good, that might be more negative or an interpretation of negative. How can I turn that into a positive? And so I think fear comes up often for me. And so I really try and set intentions and take time out for myself and do some self-dialoguing and conversations. And I'm jumping into a lot of saboteur work right now. I'll share that later. And that's been really helpful for all of what we're talking about, particularly around fear and judgment. But like, I just have had to do a lot of self-reflection and work on letting go and work on trust.
Mary, how about for you?
Yeah, I would agree with all of that, Sheila. Um, the biggest piece for me, and just listening, is I just see everything as an energy, and I think of it like, here comes the energy of fear, and I just think of it as it just needs to release from me. Getting really present, um, where I am. So, because usually it is, like you said, Sheila, earlier, it's a future thought. And then we just start getting rattled about, what does the future look like? If I make this decision, what's the future going to look like? But if I can come back to, again, knowing who I am, or my mission statement, I use that a lot when I get rattled. Like, okay, what is my mission again? Remind myself of my mission. Why am I here? Or knowing that I'm showing up authentically, showing my best self every day. That also overrides that fear, and turns it into confidence, because I know that I'm being my best self. I know that I'm doing my daily work. I know that I'm asking Source or God Divine. I know that I'm saying, show me the way today. But again, that for me is a daily practice. So I think of everything now as energy. And if I start to feel that energy and lack of confidence or fear or lack of trust in myself, I just get really present again. Or I take myself out, and I just step away. Because what I'm conditioned to do from my corporate backing, or just from the societal backing of strive, strive, strive. If I don't take myself out of the equation, because it's not me anyway, it's energy. I just go walk the energy off. It's just energy that wants to release. And then I come back and I'm present again and I'm clear. And I know another simple technique, but that's how I overcome. I just say, okay, it's rising. Because I can be scared of anything. Anything can create fear in me. Even though I've already done it before, it can create a new level of fear, because now how is it going to affect my future? So I just get really present. I trust myself. I have great mantras. I love myself. I believe in myself. I trust myself. And so if it gets really heavy and I have to come into self-dialogue or mantra, I come into self-dialogue or mantra, and I just remind myself who I came here to be, what I came here to serve. And there's really comes back to I'm okay. I can overcome this. I can do this. But as Sheila has said several times, trust is a big factor. And how do we trust ourselves? By the daily reminder of what our mission is, or who I came here to be, or why I'm doing this work. And a lot of times that will get you settled right back in. Now I know. Now I know what I came here to do. It's not about Sally Sue and what judgment she has against me. It's what my heart came here to do. So it comes right back to that alignment of trust, if that's helpful. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Very helpful. And to that point, Autumn posted something beautiful. She said she had heard somebody say this the other day: what's meant for you can't miss you. So I'm definitely writing that down. I love that. That's tremendous. That's tremendous. And I'll do my best to answer this question too. So some of it's just basic disciplines of meditation. And even though I'm a meditation teacher, I will be honest, I do not meditate every day. Sometimes several days go by and it's like, oh crap, I forgot to meditate. We can all relate. Sometimes it's something like yoga. Sometimes it's going and connecting to a tree. Just really seeing the tree, just really connecting to nature, and all the lessons that are in nature, which somebody could like roll their eyes and go like, whatever. But when you really look, and then you really look, and then you really look, it's there, and it's really profound. Those kinds of things. So related to that is also, I ask myself, what are you filling your consciousness up with? Do you have the news on for like 2 or 3 hours at a time? Are you hearing a lot of negativity that is actually getting absorbed as opposed to just sort of worked with and worked out? Are you hearing yourself? Are you bitching about stuff? Are you complaining? Are you in negative space and you're just perpetuating it because the way you're speaking about it is not necessarily truthful? It's the storytelling, and it's not helpful. So you're hearing it in your mind, and then you might, if you're saying it out loud, you're hearing it again through your ears. So I think what's always helpful for me is every single emotion, particularly every single shade of fear that a human being has ever felt. The spiritual teachers have something to say about it. It gets addressed by all the ascended masters, by all the mystics, by many people doing podcasts alive today. I mean, it's that there's ways of shifting that perspective. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of that tonight in terms of just the languaging is different. We're speaking about it in a different way, in a deeper way. And I think when you fill up your consciousness with those kinds of ideas, you take a moment and you listen to, anybody. I mean, Brené Brown is wonderful. Elizabeth Gilbert is wonderful. Marianne Williamson is wonderful. I mean, there's just so many wonderful spiritual teachers out there. The Dalai Lama, hearing the Buddha, especially anything from the divine feminine, is just, and I'm seeing a lot of that pop up more and more, and just being able to embrace that, hear it. And I love it when something turns something on its head, because then I feel like, oh, it's really time to pay attention. And I find that helpful. And then I notice that that's where my thought patterns go. And obviously my vibration's going to follow. So vibrations will go up the emotional ladder into more expansive, more positive, more higher vibrating emotions, which also means then that's what you're going to start to notice. You're going to notice the good stuff that's going on. You're going to notice the less visible but very strong energy that's going on. And when you connect into that, that's much more what I think anybody on this call is looking to do. We're all evolving and very actively involved in our evolving. So I think all of those I know certainly help for me. again, a lot of wisdom in this room. And does anybody want to share maybe something that you do? Something that you find valuable, something that you find, Jamie, are you unmuting? Okay.
Yes, I'm popping in. I'm popping at you. Yeah, no, this is actually something I've worked an awful lot about, but I don't even think that I knew is necessarily around fear. It almost felt more like self-confidence or my own internal boundaries in a way. And the thing that I had to work really, really, really hard, oh God, my therapist, God bless her, is that I have the ability to overcome whatever life throws at me. I've been through a lot, I've seen a lot, and every single time I've figured it out. I may not have gotten it perfect on the first try, but I have always figured it out. And so at this point, even when something big comes at me and I'm like, whoa, I can be like, okay, I'm going to figure it out. And trying not to take the whole big thing in one huge bite. Be like, okay, my first step is this, and I'm going to do this. Then I'm like, okay, I'm here. Now my next step is that. And then that's kind of how it evolves. So not having to know always how the problem is going to be solved, but trusting in myself that I have that capability of figuring it out and doing it and moving forward. And that seems to solve like 99% of my struggles right now.
I love all that language. I know it's great. Just taking one step at a time, saying it, you're saying you're owning it. You're saying it with real, heck, here, this is what it is. And I love that remembering I've dealt with so many things before. I can deal with this. That's trusting yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
much so, Jamie. That's great. What it kept bringing up for me is it's not about believing and seeing anymore. It's about knowing. I know I've got this. Even to the degree that I lead others, like, this already happened. I know that I've gone through it because I've already seen the other side of it. I've shifted that a lot. It's not seeing is believing. It's not believing, it's seeing. It's knowing and receiving. Mm-hmm. Anyone else like to share? Well, I think shall we move on to the third and final idea that's swirling around, and that it aligns with belief. I'll change it to knowing ourselves, essentially believing in ourselves. Stomps out fear. The trust that we've been hearing a lot about. It really, if I can override something. Now I'm still going through it. It's not about not going through. It's about overriding it with something. I recognize you. I see you. Override, stomping out. So what helps you believe in yourself and your business? So what helps you feel aligned with yourself and your business? And then how do you go about bringing in a daily vibration of love and positivity, receptivity? So if you would, Sheila, share with us first, because we just love to pick on you first. Tell us.
I have to share this. Right when I first came on, I was sharing this with Deb, that nighttime is not my best time. I am an early person. I'm in bed at 8 o'clock. So as I go through, if I look foggy, it's because I am. And so you can pick on me, but if I fall asleep, just someone yell my name. I guess that positive psychology keeps coming up for me. In other words, it's like, what's my opportunity? So I try and take those self-reflections just of like, what's this opportunity that I have for myself? And to not listen to my inner critic, which is some days fine and other days loud. We're talking a lot about, our businesses and stepping into our confidence. And for me, I think I have a difficult time doing that, mostly when I also, we haven't talked a lot about personal, but when there's a lot of like stuff going on personally. right? And sometimes my fears become greater in the personal realm, even more so than where I'm at with my business. And then I allow them to come into my business or into my business mind, if that makes sense. So I really have I try to do this practice daily, and I'm never perfect at it. And certainly, yeah, have to recognize it's not always going to be, but I really have to give myself permission to not be perfect and to just, quiet the voice and talk back to myself and give myself that confidence and realize that I can do this. I am good at this, and I need to trust myself in this. So I've had to say that to myself so much in the different realms that I have been in order to step into it and move it forward. And when earlier I said when I show up, when I show up completely, that's where I'm usually able to take that next step.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Sheila. How about you, Deborah? How about your daily practices or your receiving of goodness?
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Something I actually have to remember to do this, but I've been doing it more and more is to, in all my spiritual teachings, trainings, and it's from all different, everything from Buddhism to shamanism to just so many different teachers. What always seems to come up is there's this whole team of spirit guides that are there for us, for all of us. And but they don't really step in until you ask them. And the channel doesn't really open until you open it. So it's a matter of sometimes just being quiet and asking the question and asking for help, which is something in our culture we don't do a lot of. In fact, we judge ourselves when we ask for help. But and the other thing we don't have in this culture is we don't have a very strong ancestral connection. Almost every other culture does, and calls on ancestors for help, whether it's an ancestor of somebody who's done the work, the kind of work you're doing. So it's a vocational ancestor, or it's literally a blood DNA ancestor. Opening up that world has been huge in terms of remembering that you've got this team that's ready to help. So to just, again, a lot of times to access it is asking for the help, asking the question, having some quiet, and this doesn't have to take a long time. It could take, 3 minutes, and really listening. And if you don't believe in any of that, it's still going to be your psychology, still going to be your gut talking to you, your heart talking to you. It all comes from a good space. So a very, very good and real space. And sometimes it's amazing when you are listening, what you hear in terms of the guidance and the connection, and also the conversation you can have, because of course you can talk back, you can converse. And I find that when I remember to do that, when that is happening, not only does it help me feel more confident, it helps me overcome fear, it helps me to move past it. It also reminds me that I'm not really a personality. I'm a part of the whole, and I've got my own part to shine on and to help other people shine with. And I think when that happens, I think that's really helpful. So in connection to that, if I feel like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, I ask for it to channel through me. I started to do this very early on when I was a therapist. And, there'd be times I'd be completely stumped. Somebody would be talking about something and be like, I have no idea. I have no idea what to say. And that's the ego. And to just step aside and go, okay, God. At that point, it was God. Come on, God, I need some help. And then something else would take over. And I don't mean possessed. I mean, just take over. Some other wisdom would take over that was coming through me, but not was necessarily from me. And I find that's the same thing with, we call it sometimes the stream team. So the spirit guides, having that connection. And again, remembering that you don't have to do this alone. We don't have to do any of this alone. We could do it in solitude, but we don't have to do any of it alone. That has been quite a game changer for me.
Yeah, that's great, Deborah. Yeah, we're not alone. We're never alone. That is true fact. I don't lead by perfection. I lead by presence, though, and I do have a daily ritual. and I don't leave the house. If I say to myself, if I would be willing to leave the house without pants on, then I can accept that I don't have a daily ritual, but I do. I lead with presence. I am a source aligned soul. I haven't always been a source aligned soul, but in the last 8 years of my life, I have a daily practice. It takes 7 minutes. I pray, I connect, and I meditate. I call in every day. I call in the archangels, the ancestors. I call them all in. I have mantras. I align myself with the Christ consciousness, white light, diamond healing light. I mean, I really get in deep, and it's every single day because I lead by intention. I lead by soul mastery. So I have to show up and be present. I have one mantra, and I'll share it with you, that I do speak every day. My soul is completely aligned with limitless resources, opportunities, and financial freedom. Every day. It does make for there is some chaos in my days, and I agree with you, Sheila. When my personal life is going haywire, it wants to slide into my business. But I will tell you that in the last 8 years of really being present and every day doing that daily ritual, every single day, I just connect in. But that's who I am. That's why I'm here. I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve whatever is moving through me in the most authentic and compassionate way. And so I have given up my will, and thy will. I have just aligned to thy will, whoever that will is for you. But I agree with you, Deborah. I think that calling in all of those guides and angels and sources, and they're there waiting to help you, waiting to bring the opportunity that you so desperately desire. Another one that I use in business building really is I call in my soul aligned dream clients from the north, south, east, and the west. I pray that they have the courage to say yes to themselves and the courage and resources to say yes to me. So that's what I'm calling in my ancestors for. And that's how I stay. I call in the vibes every morning. There's nothing for me to worry about. I just receive with ease because I've called in my team. In essence, I don't have to do anything but show up where I'm asked to show up or say what I'm asked to say. Usually after I do that, I go for a moving meditation and all the content comes in. I joke to my husband all the time, like, I need somebody running beside me when I'm in moving, because that's my moving meditation. I'm on the earth. I need somebody writing all this down. But that's how I lead. And since that's what we're talking about, what are the steps that I do that harness more aligned and positive vibes and help me stay in the place of knowing, stay in the place of belief? And it's a daily practice of being present. Yeah, that's my big deal.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Thank you for sharing the ritual, because it's your daily routine. Because I think to actually hear how does it break down into something practical? How do I actually? That sounds great, but then how do you do it? So I think it's so helpful
because I tell a lot of clients about it. It's just 7 minutes, and you could even do that. That 5 or 10 minutes that you're rolling around before you actually emerge from the bed. There have been times where I just put my hands on my heart and I do it right there. Anything, just call him in. Here I am, source, God, divine, angels, archangels. Show me the way today. What is mine to share? And I don't even think that was 40 seconds. That's how I lead, though. This is how I lead. So does anybody else want to share?
I just want to piggyback for 1 second. That's awesome, Mary. Thank you for sharing that. I think that can even be used in so many different ways, depending upon how we process, right? And throughout the day. So as business owners building businesses and leaders who are just back to back, and that's me, back to back, I have had to set those intentions throughout the day as well, to give myself that energy, to think about who's my next person, who am I speaking with, how do I need to show up, what do they need to hear from me, Right. So another intention, just to add to that, that I think for me has been really successful. And the people that I work with, it's been so calming to them and help them to get from point A to point B.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's amazing. That's wonderful, Sheila.
mhm.
Yeah, I think it's so helpful to whoever you're going to be connecting with is to sometimes think about them, you know, whether it's the people in your yoga class, the people who you are looking to have find you,
Yeah.
the people you're speaking to. I'll tell you a secret. I did that for tonight. Delia, I can relate to, you know, you've been doing something for a long time, but sometimes when you have to do it online, there's something that makes you more nervous about it. Can totally relate to that. So there was definitely a moment of I need to connect to the people who are the women that are coming tonight, and you know, really be able to speak to them and not be fearful about talking about fear. So yeah, absolutely. It's so helpful to be thinking about that. And Sheila, I love that idea of having to do it throughout the day as well. Because the human stuff still comes in throughout the day, and you still, okay, reset. Mary, do you reset at all during the day, or in the morning? It's so powerful, you're good.
Oh, I'm glad you asked. No, all day long. All day long, I am. If I feel again, fear and those energies come in, I feel them in my body. So if I start feeling them coming in, I give them permission to go, and I recite mantras that make me feel good. When new opportunities come in, or if something doesn't go as I, you know, here I am, I just open my heart up. I'm open to receive my gifts. You know, I've got all kinds of mantras all day long, all day strong. It just depends on what I feel as though I'm dealing with, or what kind of energy is butting up against me. We're sensitive beings. And I think maybe Sheila or Deborah hit on it. It's really important with who you surround yourself with. What is coming in? What are you seeing? That is huge. I don't watch the news. I don't watch TV. I haven't watched TV for probably 15 years. I don't, maybe it might, for some people, think that I'm out of tune with reality, but I live in the reality that is my authenticity, which is not the human condition. I live in the reality of who I came here to be. So I'm very conscientious of who I'm surrounding myself by, or what I'm seeing or putting in front of me, or what I'm saying yes to. I try to tune in, like Sheila was saying, I'm tuning into my next client. What do I need to tune into? Do I need to drop a light over the building? I do that a lot. For every space that I go in, I do a 4-corner light show. Part of my daily ritual is clearing every single place that I ever go, including the places that I participate in Sedona with. So everything that I regular gets 4 pillars and a grid or a net of light that comes down and clears it out for me. I mean, I get it goes pretty deep, but yeah, all day long. I'm just trying to, you know, I'm just focused on aligning.
Wonderful. How about anybody else? Anybody else have something that helps you? A practice, an idea? Jamie, go ahead.
Yeah, I have one that I'm doing right now. I just started it as a challenge from one of my coaches right now, and I'm loving it. It's like quantum leaping me right now, and it's only been like 3 days. But first of all, it's a challenge to do an hour of mindset work a day, which is a lot for me. I'm not quite there yet, but I managed 40 minutes today. And I'm here. So this is also, I'm guessing, like, you know, my mindset work, right?
Yep.
But it starts out with a full page, a minimum of 20 brags, desires, and gratitudes. And this is a new one for me, this bragging. And I am eating it up with a big fat spoon at this point. I have all sorts of stuff. Like, I brag that I'm simple but sustainable with my finances. Like, it can be anything, but that's a big one for me. And I'm like owning it. It's a way to like really like grasp onto it and own it. So brags, desires, and gratitudes, full page, keep going for as long as you possibly can. And then another at least like 5 or 10. And then after you do all of those, you do a fear inventory. So it's 20 fears around resentments, doubts, and fears with your desires. So you pick one desire, and it says, even though I desire and choose, so today mine was success. Even though I desire and choose success, I deeply fear, and my fear was failure. And so then I have to write out 20 details about why I feel that way and what my blocks are and what my resentments are around that. And then once that's done, you rewrite each and every one, and you say what you want and what you do want to, what you do desire, and how you want to show up instead. So, like one of mine was, let's see, I fear not allowing myself to be big. And so I rewrote that as, I allow myself to expand as my life opens, and I allow myself to open to life. So like kind of like reprogramming, like owning them, saying they're all here they are, and this is how I'm going to reprogram them. So you start out with the good stuff, you acknowledge that murky shit in the middle, and then you rewrite it and you claim it as your own in a different way. And that's been exceptionally powerful for me.
Wow. I'm just curious, as you're doing it, it looks like you have a lot of joy explaining it and talking about it. How does it feel like as you've gone through 40 minutes, whatever process you did on any particular day, on the other end of it, what is the actual emotion you're feeling?
I'm joyful as a human. This is like kind of how I express myself in the world, even when it comes to the ugly stuff. Like that's a big part of that is my essence. However, this for me has been really big. This is the first time in my life I'm really stepping into my own. I'm stepping into my power. And in the past, I've sort of had the opportunity maybe to do it, but I haven't seized it because I didn't have to. And at where I am in my life, my circumstances have changed so much that I'm not at a point where I'm allowing myself to compromise. So forming this business, starting coaching, living this path is no longer like a luxury. It's no longer anything else but my choice, my desire, my need. This is my need. So as I'm kind of rehashing all of those old things, right? Like, oh, I have to stay small. Oh, I can't succeed. Oh, I can't even dream about being wealthy. Acknowledging those and not accepting them anymore feels freeing, feels feels right, feels healing, feels powerful, feels really powerful. And it's allowing me to walk the path that I know that I want and need to walk, because this is my gift to share in this lifetime. And it's just allowing me to do it, and just to do it and do it with more confidence.
Thank you. Wow. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Yes, I think you're getting some kudos on that for sure in the chat. Anybody else want to share?
I have a fun one that I'm doing. It's actually kind of where Jamie's is super, there's a physicality to it and like a concreteness to it. I'm doing one that's it's a pocket full of joy exercise where it's neuro reprogramming, and it's emotion based. So, and that's part of that. For me, I don't have necessarily tangible fears. It's more of like a feeling comes up. So, the idea is that you write down 5 things, places, moments in time that bring you visceral joy, that you can think of it just makes you happy and joyful, without even trying, and you can feel it in your body. So it's an encompassing joy, happiness feeling. And you write those down. So you write those 5 things down. It has to be, I guess, at least 5 things. You could have more, and you keep that with you at all times, so that throughout the day, when you have a negative feeling, and it's generally a familiar like fear type feeling, an anxiety type feeling, and you're basically rewriting the story emotionally. So you say, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm afraid of this is the fear that's coming up. And then you switch over to one of that pocket full of joy things on your list, and you feel that, you breathe into it, and you feel that joy. And the idea is that you do that throughout the day. And once you do it for about 3 weeks, you've reprogrammed that neural network in your brain so that now when that intangible fear comes up, it's now attached to joy. You get to feel this, you get to go into it. And I've had a lot of resistance with it, which I know means it's working for me. So it comes up and my brain kind of fights with it. And then I can I ground myself into that feeling of joy. I do a few breaths and all of a sudden it's gone. Like the fear isn't there anymore. It's no longer has that hold or that discomfort or whatever it is, whatever story I'm creating is no longer there. So I'm really curious to see how this transforms how I'm dealing with fear over the next few weeks.
Wow, fantastic. I also love hearing how you guys are you're very committed. That's awesome. Anybody else?
I'll share something, and it's not really a practice that I do every day. And I'm sorry I've been off camera. I'm trying to eat my dinner. But I do a practice called Feeding Your Demons, and it's kind of a meditation. But I read the book, and I don't know, Deborah, you seem to know it. Like you basically personify whatever it is that's bothering you or your whatever feeling you have. So if you feel fear, you can do this meditation where you personify it, and then you literally physically switch places and become that thing. And then you can ask it questions, and then whatever, like one of the main questions is, what is it you need? And then you transform yourself into whatever that is, and you allow it to drink. And so you drink that need in until it basically dissipates. And I've had some really just eye-opening results from that. And I know that there's a article that I read that describes it. So I'll find that and put it in the chat because it's really cool. So it's not something you have to do every day, but if you're having like a specific feeling in that moment or like something you're really trying to tackle, it's a really big eye-opening exercise. And the book is fantastic.
It is. Autumn, thank you so much for bringing that up. That is, that is a very powerful, wonderful practice. It's actually comes from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. Although it's I can't remember her name. It's like Sultan.
Machig Lubdron.
Yeah. And it's, that's totally not where I was remembering. Thank you. I knew I was going to remember her name correctly, but she's an American. She had studied Buddhism, I think, very early on in her life, I think back in the 70s, and, has since shared this. I'm
sorry. The person that wrote the book was Sultram Alioni, but the practice that she got it from was like a 13th century female Tibetan nun or something.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Incredibly amazing, and with incredible application to today. So that's a great, thank you. So thank you all. I mean, man, fabulous stuff. I knew there was a lot of wisdom in this group. All right, so we're kind of coming to the end here. So I think what we'll do is we'll just close out with we'll just share, Sheila and Mary will just share like what you got coming up, maybe things that you're going to be doing and sharing also on the Women's Wellness Exchange. So I'm going to go to Mary first this time.
Sheila thought she was going to get to go to rest early.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just kidding. What do I have coming up? What don't I have coming up? I'm currently working on a multi-author book project where I am holding a space for contributors to share their wisdom, guidance, and techniques on living authentically. And so the title of this project I'm working on is titled Wholehearted Leaders. and that is the people sharing their stories. Generally, we hold a space for 20 to 25 contributors. It is a beautiful and amazing way to first release the layer of sharing your story on a global platform, gaining high-end visibility, credibility. As some of you know, it's a best-selling author project, so you get credibility as a best-selling author, and really expanding in your income. It really expands your whole world. Some of you that have shared your story before on any platform have may or may not have recognized what kind of expansion comes from the universe after you are vulnerable and really using your experiences to inspire. And so that's the whole heart of my publishing company. And I have some Sedona retreats coming up. I know that travel is a little funny, but I do have a private space in Sedona. I have a condo. I host private retreats. I host those for short weekends throughout the year, and I do 3-week soul immersions for people who are really ready to get on sacred land and drop the BS. They have proven to be very, very, very expansive and just beautiful. People really just letting go of old things, and so that's just part of the soul mastery alignment that I help others, continue to find the way and continue to feel into the ease that life really is, the adventure. So those are probably the two biggest things. I do offer one-to-one coaching. I do offer guidance on attuning people to Reiki via Zoom and in person for those people that are around me, as well as sharing that daily ritual. I offer for soul mastery coaching for single sessions on that, of sharing the daily ritual and how to connect with yourself and your source every day to live with ease and flow, really. So I do have a free group called Freedom, Ease, and Abundance, and that also I share just little bits and pieces of me. So that's what's on the burner for me right now, and just collaborating, just sharing more and learning more and being more with people that came here to create lasting change. So,
And Mary, you're obviously on the Women's Wellness Exchange, but do you have a website you want to just say out loud or share?
I have a website. It's of course www. It's yoga etc booty, which is BOUTTE.com. I'll put it in the notes too. I'll tell you why it's booty. I live in a little town called Luling, and I opened a yoga studio in the next town, which is called Booty. And so at the time that the studio, which is now closed, at the time of the studio, it all kind of fit together. And rebranding just isn't something I'm worried about right now. So now that the yoga studio has closed, because it wasn't a sad story, it really was one door closed, and the door really to Sedona swung wide open. I found a condo. I always say it's a gift. I was gifted a condo in Sedona for a very reasonable price, and not having the responsibility of a brick and mortar made it even more appetizing for me. So that's it. I'll put it in the comments. But thank you. Thank you all for allowing me to share, and thank you all for sharing, because that's how we lead through life, is just being exactly who we are. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And Sheila, what you got going on?
Interestingly enough, I have just ended one thing last evening, but I'm doing it coming up shortly. So I am doing a lot of saboteur work, as I mentioned earlier, and on a couple different levels. I won't be having another saboteur training for a little bit, because I'm diving into a brand new, and Deb, you might know this and also be doing it at the same time, positive intelligence community. There is just the master of positive intelligence is Shirzad Shamin. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I have just gone through his 6-week program. I do saboteur work anyway, and he brought this concept for me to a much deeper level, both for my coaching clients and my clinical clients. It's been phenomenal, and I am moving forward and doing every 5 weeks. I'm going to be doing a pod of individuals who I will be working with and coaching with, and each individual will be learning from him with the help of my leadership. There's an app. He gives daily reminders. I've received some reminders tonight. Don't forget your PQ reps. He provides some really awesome tools to help with reframing all those saboteurs. There's 10 saboteurs. I won't get into all of them, but the first one is the judge, and we all have it. And that fear discussion we've talked about, and the stress and the overwhelm kind of bring all the saboteurs up. So I love him, and I'm real excited to do that. So if anyone's interested in being part of my different pods and moving forward, and/or just want to chat about it a little bit more, certainly let me know. I have a complimentary leadership coffee talk once a month for leaders who want to come together. The topic changes every month. Sometimes I don't choose the topic till the week before, primarily because I try and look and see what themes are going on, what energy is going on, what am I and my colleagues seeing is the need that people need, to get some support and some collaboration with. And that's the third Friday of every month at 9 a.m. That should be listed on my website, and it is on the Exchange website, although I'm not real good at updating it. And I am trying to make a commitment to do that. So I would love to see your faces there. You will add so much and meet some great people. It's also a great little networking event. I have a VIP membership group that is also listed on my website. You can take a peek at all of what it contains. A lot of resources, all my leadership coffee talks. But what I really love and value about the VIP membership is that we do team coaching once a month. And I have a group of ladies right now who are coming together and helping each other within that private space that they don't have in their organizations, to just help support each other. So please check that out. And at any point, I'm happy to just sit and talk with you and just help guide or just collaborate in moving forward. Thank you for having me tonight. And I'm so happy that I met all of you. And I'm going to do a real quick Zoom recommendation in case, Deb, you might be doing this, but just in case we forget, there's a way to save the screen. So websites and all the great mantras and conversation that took place, if you can copy that. If you don't know, does everyone know this? Okay, so just make sure you copy it, because it'll now be in our box and we can always go back and refer to it.
Thank you, Sheila. Wow. It's good for me to hear everything you're doing too.
Can I just ask what your website
Sure.
is? I didn't catch that.
Yes, and I just put it in. It's lambertleadershipcoaching.com. And it's in the chat. Thank you.
Sure. And I'll be quick. So I'm Full Spectrum Wellness. It's on my little name tag there. Full Spectrum Wellness is .com is our website. Like I said, we're about to launch a new one, but the present one has the new one peeking through a little bit, just because the developers are doing it. So the new logos out there. We're doing our fall schedule, putting that together. I think we're gonna have our signature stuff that goes out first, and then some other classes around creativity, mind-body connection coming in as well. I can tell you we run something called an Anam Cara group. It's sort of a hybrid between learning journey and coaching group. And that's going to start September 29th. So it's every 2 weeks for four sessions. And what we do is we do a deep dive around something in the spiritual realm that then applies to real life. So we're actually going to be exploring the mystics and the mystics and their teachings, and how to apply that to living life now, especially as we're in a lot of groundlessness. Things keep shifting and changing right now. So to work with that. And I have coming up, I'm really happy to be having this anniversary. Been teaching a basic meditation class for 15 years. We just hit the 15-year, thank you, anniversary or point. And it was called Meditation 101. It's now called Meditation Essentials. It's for all levels of meditation. I have veterans that have been coming forever. They've been meditating forever. And I have people that are brand new to meditation. So we're going to be, as a thank you to the community for all these years of running this class, obviously in person and online, and it will be online. September 20th will be a free class. And I believe that is already on the Wellness Exchange. I should double check that though. But everything will be at fullspectrumwellness.com. And like I said, we're shifting over. So it's going to look a little funky for a week or so. And then I think the website will be fully up and running the way it should, with exciting, cool things. So I want to thank you all, my fellow panelists, as well as all of you that participated. I feel like we created a sacred space here tonight. And I really, really appreciate the energy that everybody brought and shared, and their willingness to share. Everybody came with open hearts, it feels like to me. So I want to thank Tracy for this opportunity. And I hope to see you guys in future things and be in future groups with you. So other than that, have a really great end to your summer and a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. This was really great. Thank you. It was
Thank
great
you
meeting
so much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank
evening,
you.
Good
everyone.
night.
For your time. Appreciate it. Take care. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Deb. You did a great job.
Oh, so did you, Sheila. Really
Oh.
amazing. You do such great things.
Oh, thank you. You too. I love the work that you do. We need to connect more.
We do. We really
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Great.
Now, are you still with Sojourn?
I am. Do you want to press the recording button?
Oh,
so we
thank
can
you.
stop?
Thank you. Where is that?
Yeah.
Maybe I should put my glasses on. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, just press the button on down below. It should, if you just press it, it should be.
Yeah, I can't. That's so weird. I can't. Oh, no.
Just ask the whole, oh yeah, I can't do it for you.
Yeah. Oh,
You
that's so
see,
weird.
you see share screen?
Yes.
Yeah, right to the right.
I have chat and participants. That's so strange.
Can you
Let me see what.
change?
Pause recording, stop recording. Okay. I went into more.